Hello there, I'm Richard and I'm interested in modern careers and what we have to do to be successful in organisations as we navigate ourselves through sometimes tricky waters. And I coach and I teach and I also write career-minded business books, and it's great fun and I love what I do. When we think about how to keep our job, a great question to have in mind is where are we going to get the energy from to make the changes? Every time we change from this side to this side, it requires an investment of energy. And if we're going to keep our job, we need to be doing some new things. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is the myth of the work-life balance. If we subtract sleep and eating perhaps from our working weeks, we don't have much time left for ourselves. We're going to be at work 40 or 50 hours maybe, we're going to be travelling to work, so trying to find a balance between work and home isn't going to work for us. We need to think about work-life imbalance, and an imbalance is much easier to manage. So for example, if you take a pen and stick your finger in the air, put the pen on your finger and try and balance it, it will take a bit of effort to do so. If you lay your hand flat on a table and just prop the pen on it to give you an imbalance, you'll find that you can manage that all day. You don't need to look at it or do anything about it. And that's what I mean by imbalance. It's easier to manage. So having accepted that, we now need to think, well, what can we do differently to get some more energy into ourselves so that we actually have enough energy to do the day job and a bit spare to actually take us forwards. And there are two or three things that make good sense here. The first thing that I've noticed when coaching people is the word fun. And how much fun do you have in your life? Think about it for a second. You might spend 8 hours at work rushing around, you're having meetings, you might be a chef preparing your food, you might be working on a keyboard, but how often do you stop when you get home and do something that's fun? It recharges our energy. So that's question one. How much fun do you have every week? And you can define fun how you like it. The second thing is people tend to drink too much caffeine, and research shows that caffeine is a diuretic. It takes water out of our system, and you might not be aware that you need 2 cups of water to get the same amount of fluid intake as you do out of 3 cups of coffee. So whilst it might act as a stimulant and boost us a bit, what actually happens over the longer term is that caffeine in tea and coffee actually keeps our system slightly depressed. Caffeine's not very good for us. There's a long list of things that it will do to you, particularly if you're a chap. It can mess around with your waterworks and all sorts of unpleasant things. So stick with water. Have more water and less caffeine, and over the longer term, our energy will improve. I mentioned sleep earlier, and I want to talk about sleep. Researchers tend to suggest that we need between 7 and 9 hours a night. Now, I know that when you're busy, you might have to exist on, say, 4 or 5 hours a night. If you've got small children, they tend to bump into you at the night and say, oh, you know, I can't sleep, can you help me? And there's loads of reasons to have a disturbed night. The problem is, of course, when we get back to work the next day, we're starting off on the back foot. When we think about sleep, a suggestion that I have to offer you is to have what I call Sleep Wednesday. Every Wednesday, make a point of going to bed in good time. It doesn't matter if you're reading for half an hour, because if you're stretched out with the book, you're more relaxed than you would be in front of the television or playing on a computer game or something else. So every Wednesday, go to sleep a couple of hours early. Now, if you take 2 hours a week, that's 8 hours a month, that's about 85 hours a year. Now you think about having an extra 85 hours sleep, what a difference that will make on a cumulative basis. Because what happens is we get cumulatively sleep deprived, and we just need to build it back up a bit at a time. So you can have some fun, do a hobby, see your friends, go out for dinner or something, you can drink more water and you can get more sleep, and finally I would say go home. I know for myself, I have worked late. I used to do a planning project. It took me 3 hours every Tuesday to run the reports, look at the numbers, get my head around what was needed, write a report. And 1 week I couldn't do it. And I had to do it on the Wednesday morning, and 3 hours turned into 45 minutes. And I realised I've just been wasting my time because you stay late, you think it looks good, but you're just working slower and slower and slower. You're better off going home, taking good care of yourself, coming back in the next day and actually compressing your work into a much smaller space. That's what makes a difference. And if you put all of those together as a package, or maybe just choose 2 or 3, you can decide what works for you. You'll get to the point where you've got more energy and are better able to take care of yourself, and therefore your added value scores will continue to rise. So you choose, make a choice, have more fun.